It's a very simple thing. It's called the three C's. And the three C's which you have to practice within the triangle being the student, the teacher, and the parent. One very important thing, a smile on a student's face is, that just makes your day, makes everything.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Great Principles. I am Seema Choria. I bring to you another legendary figure from international borders today. Not all minds are brilliant, not all intellectuals. We are so judgmental in our approach to schooling that we believe in our minds that only the brightest mind can teach or lead. We have Sachin Tendulkar, god of cricket, yet he did not perform well as the captain of the Indian cricket team. We have so many exemplary leaders who were average at schooling, but look at what they have achieved. The biggest example for us is Bill Gates at Microsoft. In the same context, Albert Einstein mentioned that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. There is no room left for questioning or thought and learning was the Roth methodology which he detested. Many students go and grow through this redundant teaching style which restricts holistic learning. My guest today has overcome these challenges and consistently decided it was time to make a few changes to the unjust system. Becoming a teacher was a sacred call that she heeded and today leads a school of repute across the border. I put my hands together to welcome Ms. Edna Fernandez, Vice Principal, Birla Public School, Doha, Qatar. Welcome, ma'am. So, beginning with my very first question to you, as I mentioned that you had detested the traditional schooling system and chose to become a teacher so that the children can learn holistically and grow holistically. So, here I would like to know from you, what reforms did you bring about in your teaching style to ensure every child in the class enjoy learning?
Okay, thank you, Seema. So the very simple thing, when we start teaching, we start with something called as planning, and planning starts with as simple a thing as a lesson plan. So here at Birla, what we do is even our lesson plan, we put in a lot of effort in that. We start in with different strategies for the higher achievers, for the average, and for the lower achievers. And this comes in different ways and methodologies of teaching that we incorporate. We even focus on something as called as focus activity. That is something as getting their attention into learning, because when they move from one class to another, there is a great shift in their teaching learning process and their attention span itself. So it could be as simple as doing a simple Simon Says or a clap activity, so that brings their focus back. We also have a break activity between, wherein we just play some music, the children stand up, have a little jive, and come back to their learning. So these are small things that we do at our end. And the lesson plan, all this is incorporated within the lesson plan, and the lesson plan again ends with something called as reflection or corrective action that the teacher has to take based on that day's lesson, or some insight that she would have. So that is something that we start off with a planning, as I said. In earlier days, teacher used to be the source of all knowledge, and we used to treat her as a role model. But things have changed now. The teacher has taken the role of a facilitator. So this role has given birth to different other innovative practices. Some of them that we've been practicing thanks to blended learning. It is like flip learning that we have. We have learning by doing. We have collaborative learning. You have theme-based learning, like you choose a particular theme and all the subjects revolve around that and you integrate it. So, which is also coming and into being in CBSE, being practicing it very well. We also introduced something over here called as the buddy system, wherein two children, okay, one would be a higher achiever and one could be an average or a lower achiever. And that particular child assists or helps the children, the buddy, in its daily processing. And then we have something called as a teacher mentor, wherein each child is appointed a particular teacher. That particular teacher takes care of the overall development of the child, be it the child's well-being, be it the child's academics, the psychology of the child, everything that particular teacher is responsible for. Some of the changes that I have made as an education in the infrastructure also is very important. And I feel, the infrastructure also should be age appropriate. Like when I come down to kindergarten, I feel it should not only be a blackboard for the teacher or a whiteboard for the teacher. It should also be for the student. So in all my classes, you would see in all my schools that I have taught in, right from Kerala to here in Qatar, I have painted all the bottom of the wall as a blackboard so that the child also can come and scribble over there. We give them sandboxes. All these activities actually help them improve their psychomotor skills and gives them a sensitive sense of feeling, writing, and being a part of it. We also have in our classrooms an activity corner, a reading corner. Now, this activity corner, if you ask me, it's not just a set of games kept over there. There will be these higher achiever students. What would they do after they finish their particular work that has been given to them? So if a child finishes the work that has been assigned, he or she is not supposed to disturb or do anything else. They go into this activity corner. The teachers would have carefully planned another set of worksheets or a set of, very intuitive games out there for children. And they would indulge themselves in those particular activities. That is the whole purpose of the activity corner. The reading corner is which I encourage, like if a child has a birthday, instead of bringing sweets, you could bring a book, which could be a part of the school library, the class library, sorry. And this is something that we could maintain as a reading corner. Once the child finishes, the child can go pick up a book, come back and read. And this is something that encourages the so-called reading habit in them. We also do not have the didactic school bell in the schools that I have taught in. Rather, I've been a school administrator in Kerala and over here. We do not have the didactic bells. We have some lovely songs, that could help the child, just rejuvenate themselves, have a little jive, have a little move, and energize themselves. So, that brings a little bit of spark and a little bit of different approach of having the normal system of learning. Also, very important, according to me, is not just the academics. The co-curricular also plays a very vital role. And so we have that very, thin balance that we always have to maintain. But if you give me the present scenario, I think that co-curricular activities are much more important and should be designed and planned in a way that we can integrate it with our academics. And that is what is going to actually give you a very, very fruitful education. Speaking of which, keeping all that aside, I feel the most important thing in education is that we need to instill moral values. We need to see that our children turn out to be good human beings. And for that, I've always had programs like Fistful of Rice. Then we have Sealing on Desire. So just to explain what is Fistful of Rice. So each child gathers one fistful of rice in one container. And each time he picks up that fist of rice, he prays for all the unfortunate, all the ones who will be consuming this, that they never go hungry. So this gives them a sense of pride in themselves that, they're doing something for the less fortunate. Also Sealing on Desire, supposing a child feels like having an ice cream, wants to spend, a 10 real or 10 rupees for that. And instead of doing that, he puts it in their bank and keeps it. And at the end of the month, shares that with the teacher, which again goes into something called as what I do a project is adopting different orphanages and old age homes. So by this, what happens, the children also get very sensitized. And we used to take them to the Cancer Institute. One injection costs over there 30,000 rupees, which many cannot afford. So we adopt certain patients, we adopt certain old age homes and orphanages, and we look after them. And this instills a lot of moral values in the children. Also at Birla, once I came down over here, I realized that they follow a different system, a 4-pillar learning system, which which is taken from the educational framework from UNESCO. That is, it has 4 things in that. That is learning to know, which is basically your subjects. You learn, you gain knowledge on those different subjects by different ways and means. It could be activity, it could be group discussions, it could be interactive learning, and all the other methods that I mentioned to you earlier. So that is learning to know. Learning to do. Learning to do is to connect this particular knowledge that you learned with for different skills and competencies that you have. Then you have the third one. The third one is learning to be. Learning to be means you are shaping your own personality as an individual. It could also be, being a part of different clubs. You are instilling life skills into them. And the last one is learning to live together. This I feel is the most important, because this does not just deal with the social skills, but also instills a lot of teamwork spirit in the children. And where you have your global and intercultural competencies also coming in. You have your cross sectional school exchange programs and all the other programs that we have. It comes into this potting. So these are the few things that we practice here at Birla, and the few things that I have practiced as a school administrator.
Wonderful, ma'am. It's not few. There are a lot many, and which must be adopted by many schools. Some small activities. I really love that focus activity thing. By sitting on the chair full day, even kids, they want a little change. So this small activity of this focus activity is lovely, thing to adopt, and very simply you can adopt it. There is no additional any infrastructure or technological requirements for that. Then, as you mentioned about the ring, instead of the bell, you have the songs playing on. So that is again, just small amendment, but it makes a huge difference. And the point that again you mentioned about how every student have a teacher mentor. So a child knows when he is not feeling well or he's feeling low, who he can approach to. The person who knows him very well inside the school also. So this is again an amazing thing that can be adopted, and a big takeaway from ma'am's answer. And as she mentioned that how each and everything is designed so that every child is participating actively. So it's not only about learning. School is also teaching them to be, to be empathetic. There is a small difference between, children at times get confused. They sympathize. So we need to teach our children to be empathetic rather than showing sympathy. So this the narration by ma'am of hand fistful of rice was a beautiful thing which can be practiced. So wonderful takeaways from this very first answer, ma'am. Going ahead, ma'am, as I mentioned that there has been your journey of 17 years. So I would like to know your inspiration behind being a teacher, and now how did you transition from a teacher to a school leader?
Okay. When you talk about my inspiration of being a teacher, let me be very honest over here. I never wanted to be a teacher, because unfortunately, as you rightly introduced and said, I wasn't very good at school. I wasn't the bright kid. And there were certain things that, unfortunately, our conventional system of education does not allow, or did not allow rather, the average to grow or the average to explore. So I had this little feeling of, very, I could put it as unhappiness in me as far as my school years were concerned. But then, slowly I started realizing when I came into college, I started realizing that no, I had a hidden potential, and God does not make anything average and anything mediocre. He only makes the best. And this is what I tell my students. And once I got this phrase into my head, it was a complete turnover into a new leaf for me. And from there was no looking back. And I took up, when I was in my college, I took up BLEd. I specialized for 4.5 years in elementary education. And from there, I took up my first job as a teacher in Montfort School in Delhi. And that was where, I realized my call. I realized how beautiful it is to be a teacher, and how you can just touch lives with as simple as thing as a smile, and that is what children remember. One smile that you would have, given them in a moment when they would have been down, one hug, one, word of motivation. And that is what led me to be a teacher after that. Once I got married, I shifted to Kerala, wherein I joined the Choice School, and I worked there as a teacher to begin with. And then I moved on to being a coordinator, a subject coordinator first, and an HOD, and then the exam coordinator. I looked after the ISO, and I became a representative. I directed 5 musicals, and then there was, a lot of responsibilities that came along the way. I became the administrative head also after that. So it had been 8 years, as you rightly said. This is my 18th year in the field of education, and I have been 8 years as a teacher and 10 years now, by God's grace, as a school administrator. And this has been a real roller coaster wherein I have learned so much. You know, earlier as a teacher, I used to feel, why am I doing all this work? But believe me, I have to tell all my fellow teachers, every work teaches you something valuable. And the learning that you get at that point of time is going to be for something really precious that you have in store for you. So grab every opportunity that you have as learners. I tell all my teachers that you are not a teacher, you are a learner. And the day you stop being a learner, you will stop growing. So never stop being a learner. So that is something that, I really practice every day. And yes, from there, I moved on to being the vice principal for administration. And I used to manage 11 schools under me, under the Choice School banner. And from there, I moved on to being the first head for for DPS Kollam. I opened the first DPS in Kerala, and I was working under the Delhi Public School Society. And right now, I am here at Qatar under the banner of Birla Public School, serving as the Vice Principal Academics. And we have about 7,500 kids over here. We have 500 staff, just the teaching staff. So it's a very, very big banner. And I'm very proud to, have reached here and work in this prestigious school. So that's about me in a nutshell. But I love to associate myself even now as an educator and more as an author, because that is something that keeps me going and connected into and rooted into education.
Absolutely, ma'am. Hearing you today, I totally agree that mark sheet never defines, what you will be in future. As you mentioned that you were an average student, so definitely your marks must have given you that statement that you are an average student. So to all my parents out there, stop considering this mark sheet as something which is going to decide the future of your child. This is a burning question, and even today, children feel this way. They feel very demotivated. So, ma'am is a living example that doesn't matter. All matters is you be a learner and you see the changes coming on your way. It is applicable to each one of you. We all needs to be a lifelong learners. So, a wonderful takeaway from ma'am's journey. She has reached to one of the reputed school today, handling 7,500 students. That's a huge thing. So, ma'am, in on these questions, on these lines only, I'd like to ask you that you are second in charge now here at to an Indian school on international soils, and this school was initiated to serve Indians with the best educational facilities in Qatar. So, are you still in touch with Indian culture in Birla Public School, Doha?
Absolutely, because 45% of our students and our community is Indian over here in our school. And we celebrate, everything. The fact that I'm even wearing a sari right now, yes, we, celebrate each day as an Indian. And we celebrate, all the different festivals that we have, including the national festivals. We have as simple as just now, on September 13th, where we had the Hindi Divas, and we even had that. We have different festivals like Diwali, Christmas, Eid, everything, and special assemblies all celebrated together. To mark it all, I should also tell you that Birla Public School is the only school that teaches the most number of Indian languages. So we have Urdu, we have Hindi, Sanskrit, Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, and right now we even planning to start off with Kannada. So on one platform, so many languages being there right now. And just to tell you a little more, we are also in close association with the Indian Embassy, and we collaborate with them on a daily basis on different initiatives that they also come up with. So we have also the cultural communities over here. So you will have, the community from Tamil Nadu, the community from Kerala, from Bangalore, Kannada, and you have the North Indian group. So you have a whole amalgamation of different communities from India over here. And fortunately, we celebrate all of them at Birla Public School because we have an amalgamation of all these students in our school.
So, ma'am, what have you observed? What your children love most about the Indian culture?
I think they like the diversity the most. And, they enjoy celebrations, which is not so much prevalent over here. Here, for them, celebrations is more of eating. They make a lot of delicacies. But back there in India, we have a reason. We just need one reason to celebrate, and we just start off. So, the music, the dance is something that keeps children in Birla bound together. So that is I think the most important factor, that they love and they enjoy. They love the songs, they love to dance, they love to, have these small parties where we have that particular cultural cuisine celebrated. So these are the few moments that, children enjoy out here.
Absolutely, ma'am. Festivals are the reason when we all get together, and similarly, all the students are getting together and celebrating festival with so much joy. So this is so wonderful to know that that our culture is so much practiced over there for the school, which is being made for the Indians out there. Going ahead, ma'am, Birla Public School, Birla's philosophy of education and your ideologies on holistic development, they both blend together, and both of you want that a child should be holistically developed, blending it with the modern technologies, modern techniques of learning. So how do you manage and understand learning needs of 7,500 students? This is, and staff, 500 staff teachers, and how do you make this provision for the student? This is like something very challenging.
Yes, but challenging, every challenging situation has a greatness to itself, has a charm to itself. And even though you would say that, so many kids, so many staff, but there's a very, very simple solution to this, which I believe any school administrator can adopt to. It's a very simple thing. It's called the 3 C's. And the 3 C's which you have to practice within the triangle being the student, the teacher, and the parent. So the 3 C's are, the first three is, C is communicate. So communication is the most and vital key that you have with any number of students, be it 100 or be it 7,000. So you communicate, and your communication should be clear, concise, and consistent. So these 3 words are very important. So communicate, but communicate clearly, concisely, and consistently. And the second C for me is collaborate. The school, the triangle that I mentioned, the student, the teacher, and the parent. Once we collaborate, everything will just, iron out. Everything just falls into place beautifully. And that is exactly what we practice out here. And the last and the most important thing is to have a creative approach, to have an innovative bend to everything that you come up with. So it could be as simple as, even placing a cup of tea. Which side do you want to take it from? Do you want to take it from the left or from the right? So, a child has to even think that. So how are you going to strategize and plan for that? So I'm just taking a very random example as I did right now, but it works wonders when you have a creative approach to everything that you teach. Even as I came up with the thematic approach, we have something as parent partners over here. So how parents are going to be a part of the system. The more the parents are going to be a part of the system, the more productive the school is going to be in all its ways, in its educational practices and as an institution as a whole. So these 3 C's, that is communicate, collaborate, and creativity, according to me, it can iron out any administration as far as school administration goes, and can be the key to any school success.
So true, ma'am. I'm sure all my school heads are going to agree on this, that if these three C's are achieved to the fullest, then school is definitely going to succeed, because this is the whole crux of it. The triangle is totally dependent on this clear line of communication, collaboration, and creativity. So going ahead, ma'am, you have a few awards that recognize your work in the field of education, and I also believe that scholastic results are considered as achievement by educators. All schools display the top results and toppers of the school. So here, every time I see, even in social media, 98.2%, 99.3%. So this is like everywhere. You open the newspaper, your news channel, everywhere this is going on. So is the grading system really justifying learning pedagogies in various boards or schools?
Okay, very apt question asked to a very apt person. So, so if I have to tell you, according to me, I am not, a fan of the grading system. As far as I'm concerned, I would say that yes, is grading system important? Yes, it is important, but it is important for maybe the higher secondary. But when you come, I think you should completely eradicate the grading system till grade 8 compulsorily, because it does not give the child any sort of, any sort of initiative to move forward as far as his or her learning is concerned. Rather, if we tweak that and if we make it into a descriptive feedback, touching all the different aspects of the child's development, right? It could start right from the cognitive to moving to the psychomotor, to the emotional aspect, to the social aspect, everything. So, I think that would be much more beneficial for both the child and the parent to understand where the child stands and where the child has to reach. So you are actually not, and you keep like an anecdotal record. I would not even call it a report card. A report card is a very threatening word for a child. You can even make it as a progress card, which is, or an overall progress card or improvement card, anything of those names. So right now, I feel that, till grade 8, we should move on with a very descriptive feedback wherein we touch every aspect. And right now, since we are in a changed era, wherein, we are moving into blended learning, we are having, so many changes in CBSE coming, even with the assessment pattern because of, thanks to the pandemic. So we are recognizing the need to move into more of learning rather than rote learning, which is very, very important. And we're moving into application based questions. So tweaking that in our day-to-day practices, I think will slowly and gradually help improve the so-called evaluation system that we follow in CBSE and we follow everywhere else also. But yes, if you ask me, is it important for the higher education? I feel it is, because from there the child is moving on to something called as a very competitive world of education, that is the college. So over there, yes, we will have to, tweak our plan a little bit and see how we can actually make grading a little more optimal. But yes, for the lower, I completely believe in eradicating the whole system of evaluation.
Totally agreed here, because this makes sense. Till the child is learning, let him learn.
Yes.
Eighth standard, and then the time comes when you can actually evaluate him. That what he has learned in so many years, how has he developed himself? So that is it really makes sense, here. And I think, ma'am, Bhutan is a country which practices this. They don't have assessment, and even the payment of the fees, that is free for, there is no fees till the child starts learning. The
Yes,
moment
even in Japan, Seema, they do not have an evaluative system. They follow a very formative evaluation system, which we can easily adopt. And actually, I know so many schools out here and in India as well who follow the formative system of evaluation. And it is a very easy thing that, we can actually adopt. And if you tell me, there are certain leaders who tell me that, no, we are the CBSE school and we have to follow. CBSE is a guideline. So, they give us flexibility on how we have to teach and how we have to function, especially till grade 8. So I think as school leaders, we need to be, a little more open and thoughtful to this process of learning, because once you tag a child and once you seal a child, the child, you're not giving them the basis to grow and learn. And then, they become stagnant. So it is very important that, we have to be a little more thoughtful in our evaluation system over here. And rightly, as you pointed out, that in few places, in few countries, we actually very ardently practice it. So why not in India as well?
Absolutely. So let's take our learning from the overseas market as they adopt our pattern of CBSE. Like in Qatar, they are following CBSE guidelines for Indian schools. Yet they have, very beautifully incorporated with the plethora of activities happening in the school. So even we need to learn that, along with the guideline that has been placed, we need to take the best from other countries and adopt a learning system which will be, a really conducive one. Going ahead, ma'am, this brings to me to the very interesting segment of the show, which is called rapid fire round. Here you have to answer in one word.
Okay.
So, my dear viewers, get ready. We are going to reveal some fun facts here. Here goes the first question. Who is your favorite celebrity?
I cannot answer this because actually I do not have a favorite celebrity. So I beg to, pass this question.
All right, so that's a pass. What is your leisure time activity?
I like music. I like music, art, and I enjoy a lot of, family time.
Right, so a music person. You feel happy when you see dash.
My family.
Wonderful. Filter coffee.
And there's one more thing, one very important thing. a smile on a student's face is, that just makes your day, makes everything.
Absolutely. There is such a beautiful sight when you see a little boy smiling at you. It's such a beautiful sight. So going ahead to the next question, filter coffee or Americano? Which is
Any
your
day filter coffee.
filter coffee? All right. What is your favorite dress attire?
Sari.
Sari. So totally, wherever we are in any corner of the earth,
Yes.
we have India in our heart, always.
Absolutely.
Yes, wonderful. It was amazing to know you in this segment. So going ahead, ma'am, you are motivated to be the harbinger and bring about reforms in Indian education system. So is there any educator who inspires you to better your own performance as a school head?
Very interesting question indeed. I would tweak the question. I would say that, for me, I am inspired by every educator that I have met till date. Why? The reason being very simple, because each one of them will have something beautiful to offer, something really nice to learn. And, I think what I am today is because of all my principals and vice principals and different other leaders. More to learn. I have learned from my co-teachers. I have learned from every student that I have come in touch with, because even a student can teach you, ma'am, this is, one day a child just told me, ma'am, there has to be a railing over here. Otherwise, अगर छोटे बच्चे आएंगे तो वो गिर जाएंगे यहाँ से. So, even that thought, why didn't I get it as a leader? Or why didn't any other teacher get? So, we all are inspired. But yes, there's a small piece that I have, which I had shared in one of the magazines lately on Teachers' Day. And I would like to share that. And that article that I had written is called The Recipe of a Leader. So I think, your question will get answered in this small article that I had written. So a recipe of a true leader is an ounce of ownership, 1 millimeter of motivation, a spoonful of selflessness, a tablespoon of teamwork, a pinch of innovation, a dash of dedication. Cook it by stirring in continuous learning. Sprinkle with generous amounts of enthusiasm. Serve it with care. And I have, told you what care is. So care is to communicate. That is, you listen to the child, you respond to the child, and you smile. A. A stands for to always be accessible. R, be responsible. And E, to always energize and appreciate your team members. So with this, I would like to say, each one of us, if we follow this recipe, all of us can celebrate the leader in us. So you have a leader, even a student has a leader. So this is just my small take on being a leader and celebrating leadership in each one of us.
Beautiful, ma'am. Very beautifully written and well expressed at what it takes to be a leader. Wonderful, ma'am. Hats off to you for writing this beautiful piece. It actually sums up everything. So on this wonderful, beautiful narration by ma'am, we reach to the last question of the show, which is called Viewer's Choice Question. Ma'am, our viewers have a lot of concerns regarding the school management and the school, the school heads. So the heated question that they have brought us for here is, does school management give school heads any authorization to take decision that impacts staff and students?
Absolutely. Because this, I think, and as you rightly said, why is this the pressing concern is because in India and many places, we see that lately there are schools opening which have a very business-minded orientation to themselves. But fortunately, there are also institutions that focus on the overall development of the child and do not actually look at the monetary aspect of it. And those are the schools, that I feel are actually tapping out the best of the students in the field of education. And right now we're here, as you said, management plays a very important role. And fortunately, we at Birla are blessed with a very, very good management, which is very cooperative. And the kind of approach that we follow over here with the management is a collaborative approach. So both the management and the senior leadership team, we all get together, and not just us. It is also the parents. So we have something called as just a coffee with Karan hota hai. Yahan pe we have coffee with principal. So we have the parents coming in, and we'll have one management representative, and all of us. and we discuss on different issues that will be for the betterment of the school. So I think this is the new take of the new era, wherein the management, the senior leadership team, the parents, and it could also be, later on in future, that a student also comes in. And that is what is going to, as I said in the beginning, we have the triangle that needs to be maintained if you need to progress your school. So if we have this, I think, it's going to be the perfect blend of the management, the school, and the student as a whole, functioning together. And it is also very important that for a school management, or even for a senior leadership team, even for a teacher, this is what I have learned from my earlier principles, that if the child is the focal point, if the child is the center of every thought, of every activity, everything that you circle and wind around that is only going to benefit the school. So I think this is the thought that every management should have. And we at Birla are blessed to have 5 directors, who are wounded and, bound with this noble cause of education to bring the best that we have in the field of education.
Amazing. When management has a clear vision of, reaching to the actual goal of education, then we can see what is happening today. You don't need to market yourself. Your numbers speak itself. 7,500 students when enrolled in a school, that school must be doing something very commendable. So hats off to the management, hats off to the school and everyone who is, creating this wonderful legacy school out there. So
Thank you so
on
much.
this, yes, ma'am. So on this amazing note, here we are closing our session, and all that I have learned from this session is, we all need to learn to respect the differences in each child, and their capabilities, and value them for what they are. That is, a major takeaway from this. That is what is something is missing. We try to make the child everything, but not what he is, what he can excel in. So, that is something which is lagging here, and that is what even ma'am is working on. So respect the individuality of the child, celebrate his uniqueness, and give him the exposure. Let him learn his own way. So a wonderful session with a lot of takeaways. It was really a pleasure having you here, ma'am. Thank you for your wise words and your time with us. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure being here, Seema, and interacting with you. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and may this show touch many more school administrators and many more teachers and students' lives. Thank you. Have a great day.